Hey guys, welcome to a new series available on Peacock called Queen's Court, and it's featuring Tamar Braxton, Evelyn Lozada, and Nivea. And oh my gosh, so the first episode is called All Hail the Queens. So this season is featuring Tamar, Evelyn, and Nivea, and they're gonna have a ball and share some past traumas with the first 7 bachelors. So how we get introduced into this show, into this episode, is Tamar, she's saying pretty much she worked so hard in her career, her body, her spirit, and now, she's kind of afraid bringing in new people and she's a bit guarded when it comes to dating. For Nivea, she tells us that she has an addictive personality trait and she has been so reckless when it comes to love, but she has worked on herself and has recognized that she can be a bit chaotic. Now with Evelyn, gosh, so much she has gone through in the dating space. We know that she's been through a lot of trauma, both verbally and physical abuse, and also, very public relationships. But, these girls have not given up on love, and they're coming on this show seeking to meet 21 men to find their king. So we have Tamar, Evelyn, and Nivea, and they're all ready for love. And this show is going to take place in Georgia. So they brought all the men down to Georgia to come meet these lovely ladies. And of course, we know that Evelyn and Tamar are both engaged. So watching this series, this season, we're going to see how they kind of fall in love, So let's get into it. So the hosts of Queen's Court are Rodney and Holly Robinson Peete. And pretty much, they're not the perfect couple. They are actually a real couple. They have been married for 27 years. He's played in the NFL and she's an actress. So they're here to guide these ladies in this journey, also giving relationship advice. So we get in a bit in these girls, their history. And so Evelyn's relationship history, she's been engaged 3 times. And she eye rolled at this moment. She's like, I guess I've been married once. She was married for 43 days with Chad Ochocinco, the football player. And he was the worst out of them all. The betrayals, the infidelities. Girl, I know we've seen it. I know she's an open book. She's not afraid to let it all on the table. Now, when it comes to Tamar, she's been through a divorce. She'd been through breakups, but she's went through a lot of therapy. And, our girl Tamar, she's ready for love. And by chance, it's her birthday. It's her birthday month. Happy birthday, Tamar. And then when we get a little bit from Nivea, she's a free person. Like, she's a fun girl. Like, she is ready for love. Like, she's like a firecracker. I'm so excited for Nivea to be on this show. So, there's going to be 21 single men in Atlanta for these ladies, okay? 21 single men. That seemed like a hard situation to get to get 21 single men. Oh my god. So Tamar, she is ready for the men. The man she's describing for herself is a black man. So surprisingly enough, she's engaged to a white man. But when she first started on this show, she's looking for black Jesus, okay? So tonight, they're going to be meeting 7 single men, okay? So every week, they're going to meet the 7, 7, 7, and then they're going to start dating and getting down to their final choice. So for this episode, we're going to have a masquerade ball. So the goal is not to judge a book by its cover. So both the ladies and the men are going to have a mask on, and it's going to be a moment where they get to mingle and where their personality gets to shine, So, first person up first, Tamar talks to JR first. Tamar, she does not want to date an athlete or a rapper. She wants executives. And JR, he's presenting himself as this nice dressed man who is super confident and super, super smooth. I was impressed. But we keeping an eye out on him, okay? Nivea, she has all the men around her, and they're making her laugh. They're pretty much talking about what's their situation looking like. If most of these men, they have kids, so they bond over that. But Nivea is such a socializer. She's asking these guys these questions like it's an interview. But I much rather have these guys wanting to get to know her and asking her the questions to show that they are invested. So, Nivea is grown, but I felt like, off the jump, we should have saved that bedroom talk for a little bit later, especially with the handcuff situation. Like, you can't give these guys the playbook to your kitty cat, you have to let them get to that a little bit later. But she is such a firecracker, she knows that. She knows she's that girl. Next, Evelyn, Evelyn, the guys, they're asking her questions. Most of the guys, of course, they have kids, as I mentioned before. And, it's perfect because, she has kids, they have kids. Everyone is at the right age. This is like a perfect setup for a dating show. Because, you want someone who's kind of at the same moment in their life to move on to the next step. These ladies are looking for love. They're not looking just to date around. They want to find something serious. And Evelyn recognized that. JR also gets to talk to Evelyn, and Evelyn is completely turned off by him. I feel like JR doesn't have a chance of Evelyn. He tells Evelyn that he has 4 baby mamas, okay? And Evelyn is like, red flag, red flag, red flag. And I'm like, he is a no. He is a hell no to Evelyn. 4 baby mamas? 4? Damn. She says, I'm not going to be in that mess. So we get to the unmasking and we see the men's face. And all I can say is, oh my gosh, these guys need to drop their skincare regimen because their skin are shining and glowing. And the women, they also, they unmask themselves. Well, when it comes to the men unmasking, Nivea finds the men attractive. She let that be known. And Evelyn is immediately attracted to Puff, okay? Immediately. First thing first, she loves Puff, okay? Now, when the women unmasked, the guys were really happy. They're like, yeah. Now they can match. These ladies are known. They're recognizable. So these guys, they hit the lottery by getting a chance to, meet and, have a date with these ladies. So Evelyn introduced herself, and Puff, he in his confessional, he says immediately he's definitely attracted to her. It's like perfect. He likes her, she likes him. Now let's get into it. Let's get into the moment. When it comes to Nivea to introduce herself, Mac, he was excited. He views her as super accomplished and down to earth. And when Tamar unveiled herself, JR says he does not care that she's a celebrity. But I'm like, my eyes is on him. I'm like, what we do here is we protect Tay Tay here, okay? So each of the ladies have to ask 2 men out on the first date. And the girls are like, goodbye. They're like, I have never been in that situation. I would be out. I was like, no way. I'm not doing that. That's not my thing. But we're going to take in this experience. And these ladies are going to have to ask 2 men out on a first date. But 2 men will end the night without a date. But there's a chance at the end that they can be picked even though they didn't go on a date, okay? So Tamar and so when it comes to Tamar, JR pulls Tamar, and JR and Tamar, it's pretty much the JR and Tamar show. And I'm like, okay, we keeping our eyes on this guy. So we get to know a little bit about JR. JR said like 29 years ago, he was a guy with 2 gold teeth and 2 felonies. And I'm like, damn. what an intro. But he joined the Marine Corps and he turned his life around. So he has kids from the ages of 19 to 2. When he said to 2, I said, ooh, that's a little bit recent, a little bit, The 2 kind of raised a red flag to me personally, but it didn't seem to bother Tamar anywho. So he said he came from powdered milk and eggs, and now he's a tailored man. He's fitted in his outfit. He's looking good. And, Tamar thinks he's amazing, and she asked him out on a date. So if Tamar likes him, I'm going to keep my eye on him. I'm not going to say I love it yet, okay? So, Evelyn, she has a 29-year-old daughter and a son who's 8. And Rayshawn, he had a great conversation with Evelyn, but for Evelyn, she was not feeling his hair. His hair was a distraction, so she kind of writes him off and say it's a no and move on from there. Nivea, she has a conversation with Nathan. Nathan, he's 37, a hedge fund manager from Los Angeles, California. I thought they were all from Atlanta, but they're not, obviously. But originally, he's from New York. His family is originally from Antigua, and he actually came out of a 9-year relationship. So that fascinated Nivea, and she asked him out on a date. So Evelyn, she gets to business. Evelyn pulls Puff to the side, and she is in love already. She is so smitten. She loves how he is smelling, and she's picking up a vibe. And she asked him out on a date, of course, and he immediately, quickly, without a doubt, he's like, yes. He was like, yes, and he is so locked into Evelyn. I was like, okay. I feel like we have a love connection here. Nivea, she talks to Michael, and she asks Michael on a date. He accepts. And in his confessional, he was a bit strange. He said he's friends with all his exes, which is to me a red flag. That's a no. And, I like how the producers is like, this is our first season and we're going to do it right. So let's get into it. The producers ask him and tell him, there was a study that says that if you're still friends with your exes, then you're a sociopath. And you would think that, Michael would change his answer and say, oh, no, he's not a sociopath. But he doubles down and claims that he's a sociopath. And I'm like, oh my God. He's a red flag. A red flag. And these girls don't even know. Wait till these girls find out he's friends with all his exes. I don't know. I couldn't get down with it. Maybe they won't be too bothered with it. But for me is a no. For me, it's you don't know how to cut it off. At some point, why do you have to bring them through your whole journey? All of them? Maybe when you get to that age, you're like, okay, you can have 1 or 2 that you're connected with or you co-parent with, understandably so. But to say that you're friends with all your exes, it's a red flag for me, though. It's the red flag. So Evelyn, she talks to Gatsby, but he is not letting her get a word in. He is such a talker, and Evelyn wasn't feeling that situation so much. Tamar talks to Tony, and Tony is 54. He says he's a cigar influencer. Tamar is like, what is that? And, he's talking about himself, but then he mentions that he'd never been in love. And I'm like, at 54, you want to come on national television and say you have never been in love? God, what a lie. What a lie. I would have sent him out the door right here, right now. Tamar, I know you would have. But she was so polite, And he says that he stood up his bride saying that he couldn't take work off. I'm like, that's a red flag. Let Tony go. Tony don't have to waste his time anymore. 54 and you want to say you never been in love? Come on. Please. So, Evelyn, she goes and she asks Michael on a date. And he says that he would have to do a rain check. I'm like, why Michael? Why Michael's the red flag, y'all? Y'all don't even know. Michael's the red flag. They don't even know. He said he has to do a rain check. Of course he would say that. Of course he would say he would do a rain check. Since he already has committed to Nivea, he couldn't go on a date with Evelyn. So I'm like, this is the red flag sociopath guy that, and they don't even know. I'm happy the producers haven't put it out there. So Evelyn is thinking, wow, that's a shock because, Nivea, she's dated Lil Wayne and Michael doesn't look anything like Lil Wayne. So that's two different types. And, I'm wondering, will Nivea go for Puff? Because Puff, I would say, kind of gives off Lil Wayne a little bit, But that would be interesting to see how these girls, if they like the same person, what's the situation gonna be, and whatever. But, we get into Nivea, and she's talking to Mac, and she is bonding with Mac. Mac, he has a similar upbringing with Nivea by who they were raised by the grandma. So she bonds with that. She's feeling that. And she's kind of regretting asking Nathan out on a date because she wants to go with Mac, and I felt like she was having a connection with Mac. So, interesting enough, she goes to Nathan. I'm like, girl, are you serious? But I'm actually happy that she went with her gut. And she says to Nathan that I'm going to have to take my invite back. So I'm going to take my date request back. And she said no hard feelings. She left the situation and went back to Mac and said, Mac, I'm going on a date with you. Okay. In that situation, at this time, knowing that I already watched the whole episode, I felt like at that moment, I felt like she should have switched with Michael because I know Michael's a sociopath. He's a sociopath and they don't even know. And then keep Nathan because I like Nathan's vibe. But she went with her instincts. She swapped out Nathan and got with Mac. And now she's going on a date with Mac and Michael. So Evelyn, she goes and, she talks to Nathan and, they bond over that New York vibe, New York energy. And I think they have really great banter. And I like that he reminds her of home. Like, isn't that wonderful? Isn't that nice to make a connection with someone that reminds you of home? I think that's easy. That's an easy setup. Tamar, it gets pushed into talking to Gatsby by Evelyn. So Evelyn gets Gatsby to go on a date with Tamar. But I don't know how these two will work out, I don't know how they will work. Because if Evelyn felt like he talks too much, maybe Tamar is able to manage and get him in order. Who knows? So the girls, they have girl chat, and I love that. So they say how it was so awkward asking a guy out on a date because they have never done that. Nivea, she's going on a date with Mac and Michael, and Evelyn actually wanted one of the guys, but she wanted Michael. But she said she's not competing, okay? She's not doing it. This is a sisterhood. And I'm like, okay, for now, let's see what happens if interest of Puff happens. Because I feel like Puff may be Nivea's type. Tamar asked Nivea, what does Wayne think of her going on a dating show, dating on these people? And pretty much Nivea says that her and Wayne do not talk about her love life. If anything, she has the youngest with Lil Wayne, so they do co-parent. But actually, she truly, really have a lot of feelings and care for the dream, which is her ex-husband. But of course, she wants to move on and find a new husband. So the girls are asking each other, why love again? And, I felt for Evelyn, even though Evelyn, she said she went through a short marriage, she is still wanting to be in a marriage, She ran from Chad, okay? If she had not filed for divorce, she felt like knowing that situation, if she had went back to him, that it would have ended up with her losing her life. You don't want that for no woman, okay? No matter what you have towards a person, you don't want anyone to feel a sense of that their life is at jeopardy, especially if the person's not treating you right. Girl, I always root for that. Run. Tamar, she felt like she had the fairy tale with one person, she wants the fairy tale with one person, but it was kind of snatched away by her ex manager slash business partner slash baby daddy, who was too much for her, Vince. And then her opportunity when she was seeing David, he was pretty much not in the same world with her. Like, he wanted to live a private life, and Tamar is very public, and he didn't want to be a part of that life, so where everyone's in your business, and that's understandable, and that must be hard for Tamar. So it's date day, so the girls are gonna have a date, and I was kind of shocked. I was like, wait, the dates are together? Like, they're gonna be together? It's like, ooh, it's gonna be competition. So first, let's go over Nivea date, okay? So she's on a date with Michael, who's 43, an architect from Atlanta, Georgia. And she's on a date with Mac, who's also 43 and is a tech professional from Atlanta, Georgia. At first, when I'm like, the fits, I gotta critique the fits. I love to critique a fit. We love a fashion moment. Nivea had a cute day dress on, and I felt like Mac matches her vibe just based on the outfit alone. He was matching her vibe. They look like they go together, okay? But Michael was giving tour guide, okay? He was giving tour guide. So the date that they're having is an aphrodisiac tasting. I'm like, ooh, this is a grown people date that I would love to go. Like, I feel like out of all the other dates, I like this date. I love food. I love tasting. Ooh, what's even better? And I love Nivea. Nivea is so cute. Every time where something is a little bit too grown, she's like, oh my lamb. I just think that is so cute. So, of course, Michael, the tour guide, he gets the door open for Nivea, and I'm like, okay, guys. So the two guys are feeding her, and they're laughing, and they're having a vibe and everything. But the first one-on-one goes to Mac, and I'm like, they have a great vibe with each other, and she likes how he is easy to talk to, and I love where he says he writes poetry, and I'm like, oh my god, he's gonna tell her some poetry. And I'm thinking, what a way to capture someone's soul. But my only wish was that it was written specifically for her, and not from his book. I'm like, But she loves it though. So I guess, he writes poetry. I think it takes some time, I guess, to say, I'm going to write poetry for this one person. But okay. Who was that one written for though? Okay. So the next one-on-one is with Michael, and she is excited with what he does, which is an architect. And he mentions that on the weekend he likes to be a chef. So he gets into his last relationship and why it ended, and it was because he cheated. And I'm like, oh. And Nivea gets right on it. She asks him, so why you cheated? And he says it was a mistake, and it was because he was being too greedy, And I'm like, at least he's honest. And, Nivea, she receives his answers, and she likes how pulled together he is. So between these two, who am I liking? Who am I feeling? I don't know if I have it for Michael, because Michael, I have identified you as a sociopath. Mac, I feel like she has a great time with Mac. Mac, I'm going to keep my eye out on you, but I like you for Nivea, okay? So for me, in this case, in this scenario, I felt like Mac won in this date, okay? Next is Evelyn's date. So Evelyn, she has a date with Puff, who is 37, a DJ and restaurateur from Columbia, South Carolina, okay? She also has a date with Nathan, who is also 37, who is a hedge fund manager from Los Angeles, California. So, Evelyn, Evelyn's gonna give you sexy. She's gonna give you fine. I loved her outfit, and I felt like based on the looks that the guys are giving, her and Puff, it's a vibe, and they go together. Okay, but why did Nathan look like that was their son or something? Like, he looked like somebody's son, but he even looked like that. Since he was together with them, he looked like their son. Like, come on. So Puff, he gets the door, and I feel like that's a dominant move. I love that. I love that energy. You get the door for your lady, and it's an art date. So the guys, they will be drawing Evelyn, and I love how they were laughing and talking how funny this moment is. And then we get to the paint reveal. Okay, the paint reveal situation of it all was like, oh my God, two complete opposites. One actually drew Evelyn, or what looks like Evelyn, and the other one, it was like a circular, like very abstract moment. So Puff, he drew Evelyn, but Evelyn felt like, oh my God, he drew me like a granny in this painting. And I was like, yeah, this guy is not Picasso. But Nathan, I felt like Nathan, his abstract art of Evelyn was so deep. It made her laugh. And I love his explanation of it all. But I feel like without the explanation of it all, it loses meaning. But it could be their, their inside special moment, inside joke moment. So Nathan, his painting focused on Evelyn's heart and what her heart is giving off, the growth, the aura, and the glow. And pretty much he's taking the physical part out of it and focusing on her inner part, and he names it Center of the Universe. And I'm like, this guy is too smooth. I loved it. I ate it up, and I was feeling Nathan in this date. So the first one-on-one date goes to Nathan, and rightfully so. I'm like, Evelyn, this guy is so smooth. I was loving it. So Evelyn has a one-on-one date with Nathan, and she is liking his vibe, and it's what they call it automatic. So what happened in his last relationship is that they grew apart. Evelyn wants to settle down. She basically she wants to settle down and ask him, since he's a bit younger than her, if he is ready, and he feels like he is ready, and he is super confident. And I was loving this for Nathan. I was rooting for Nathan until the end, guys. Okay, I was rooting for him. Like, he had me goop. Like, I can see what like Evelyn is going through. Like, I'm like, damn, this guy was on a roll. Okay. So she has a one-on-one date with Puff. And, Puff, he starts off correctly. He's like, it is an honor to be in your presence. And Evelyn, she loves that. And she likes how cool he is. So he talks about how his last relationship didn't pan out that of what he thought it would have been. Because he actually thought he would have been married to that person, and that he's a very family-oriented guy and she's a family-oriented girl. So it sounds like a match. And I thought he was going to say something that was going to make it a red flag. But it turned out that he wanted to tell her that, he has a foot fetish and that he loves Evelyn's feet. And he peeped it since day one. I'm like, ooh. I'm like, okay, sir. So when it came between down to the two, this was such a tough matchup. I think Evelyn had the best date. She had two guys who really stepped up. Okay. I loved it. I can't decide. It's a tie at this moment. Okay, guys. Things can change. So we then see a date with Tamar, and Tamar is out on a date with JR, who's 45, an attorney in Atlanta, Georgia. Then she also goes on a date with Gatsby, who is 35, a filmmaker from Los Angeles, California. So JR, he does a boss move and he brings flowers for Tamar, okay? And I'm like, ooh, all those roses for her, as a king should for his queen, if you're trying to get a queen out here. And based on outfits, guys, Tamar matches Gatsby, but I feel like both men are nicely dressed, so it's a tie. Either look could have done what it's supposed to do. And so this date is a cake decorating based on your mood. So Tamar, she is so clever. As the guys are like, fixing their cake and whatnot, she asked if can someone open the champagne for me? And of course, the men, they both run to get down to do it, And of course, JR, he's the stand-up guy, and he gets it and establish his presence, and he does it so smooth. And I'm like, this is the coolest, flyest white guy, and he is super, super comfortable in his skin. And Gatsby, he's annoyed. I would be annoyed if I was Gatsby. I'm like, damn. So based on the cakes, I actually like Gatsby cakes more. And it was funny when he said JR's cake has white privilege and his cake gave civil rights. And I'm like, looking at the cakes, I feel like Gatsby cake, you're going to eat good off his cake because he had like macaroons. He had all the fixings on it. JR's cake, it was a bit more simple. But, Tamar liked JR's cake because she kind of describes Gatsby's cake as being mess. So Gatsby gets the first one-on-one, and he is making Tamar laugh. And, he's telling a little bit about himself. He says to Tamar that, my parents been married for 38 years. And interesting fact, he's never been married before, which leads to Tamar asking him, if he has a high standard to who he wants to marry. So he clarifies that he's actually ready. He's ready for the next chapter of his life, and he has prepared himself to be so. So it's not about having high standards for the other woman, but more that he's now in the time of his life where he feels ready to take it to the next level. So in JR's one-on-one, we learn a little bit more about him. So he has one ex-wife and 3 baby mamas, okay? And Tamar says she's not judging, and, she wants to get to know him. And he opens up and he shares that, that he has in common with her losing a loved one to cancer. So he lost his mom to cancer, and in the funeral, there was a hummingbird that came by the coffin and was there with him throughout the funeral. And interesting enough, in common, Tamar says that her sister Tracy, who also died of cancer, says when she dies, she'll come back as a hummingbird. So they share in common this hummingbird, and Tamar looks at this as a sign. And how can you not? So I don't know if this information was public or not, but this is such a touching moment to have, knowing how bonded she is with her sisters. And she actually feels like this is a sign from her sister. So I would keep a watch on JR and seeing how, these two get close. I still got my eyes on him. I don't know this man. I don't know this man from Adam, okay? So it's interesting, I feel like after going through that, I feel like, of course, JR, he has a lead on this date for sure. Gatsby, I don't know about Gatsby, but she's really into JR. So the girls have girl chat post date, and it's with Holly. Holly, she talks with the girls, and Evelyn shares that that Puff has a foot fetish, and she likes how put together he is. And shockingly enough, she says that Nathan is not really her type, but she loves that he's from New York, the New York vibe that he has, and how funny he is. And I see that. He's super, super funny. And, Holly, she says that, Rodney wasn't really her type at first. And Tamar is shocked. She's like, oh my God, he's so handsome though. And she's like, and Holly is like, he was also this quarterback, this guy so macho. That was not really her type. And it goes to show you that sometimes you never know. So be open throughout this whole journey to people, you wouldn't think you would give a chance to, So when it got to Tamar said that, Gatsby has a serious side, but it takes a whole lot of energy to get to that serious side. And, it's a lot of work. So that's hard to be at a place with that guy. Do you want to invest all that work at this point of your life? I don't think so. Now, when she talked about JR, she had to say how much of a gentleman he is, and that they shared a moment, and she felt like it was a sign. So she really, 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 really likes JR. Nivea, she felt like Mac was easy to talk to, and that was it. It was a wrap, okay? But when it came from Michael shocked her the most. She liked how he was so cool, and she likes them both. So it's gonna be a toss-up. But I'm like, girl, you don't even know. That man is a sociopath, okay? So now about the guys who they didn't get to go on a date. The girls got to talk about it. So with Tony, the girls didn't like how he left the children's mother on the altar 2 times. They didn't like that too much. And that he's never been in love, but he's 54. Like, girl, bye. Girl, boy. And then with Raishan, Evelyn said she had great conversation with him, but felt like his hair, it's just very confusing. And, Holly said that, Rodney had a bad haircut. He had a bad mullet situation. But don't count it out. And, Evelyn's like, girl. So it's going to be time for elimination dinner party. So this is the time for them to get the answers that they want. 4 men get an invite to this elimination party, okay? And they get to host this at the Queen's Castle with Holly and Rodney. So up for elimination is Nathan, Gatsby, Raishan, Tony for elimination. And safe are Mac, JR. I want to call him Junior, but his name is JR. JR and Puff. They are all safe, okay? The girls have made the decision. Nathan, he was a little hurt and a little shocked. So I felt for him at this moment. Like, I was like, oh, I really thought that Nathan did a little bit better than Puff. But Evelyn had instant attraction to Puff. So how can you be instant attraction and you guys have great vibes? Of course you're going to go with that. So I can understand her. Gatsby, he is confused why he is not safe. I'm like, sweetie, were you not on the date? Did you not see how Tamar was feeling JR? Like, JR was the one to open the champagne. Please, you didn't have a chance. And then with Tony, he just felt like he didn't have enough time to talk to the ladies, okay? So at the dinner party, all the guys were there and the girls were giving looks. I was so happy and satisfied with the looks. And, Raishan, he has a tattoo on his neck. And Tamar caught that and she asked, what is that? And he says that that's a tattoo of his daughter's name who passed away. And the girls feel for him. And, they just want him to be less guarded. They like how he opens up, but it takes some time for him. So, Evelyn, she wants to give him a chance. And, he is so complimentary. And I feel like, he may have a chance. I mean, he has potential. I feel like a good haircut would do this man some justice. I also want to, scrub him up a little bit. But, some refinement, and you have a jewel right in front of you. You don't even know. And you don't even know, okay? Then Tamar, she talks to Gatsby, and she wants to know about his heartbreak. She wants him to be serious and open. And pretty much he says that he's been pushed away and he wants to open up to Tamar. And, Tamar likes him when he's his true government name, like Kobe, instead of Gatsby. She's more interested in Kobe than Gatsby. And, Gatsby, so obnoxious. It's like a character he plays. So he's better off as just being himself, which is just Colby. So Nivea talks to Raishan, and he's super confident. Like Raishan, he's doing some work. He's catching up to these guys. He is super confident. He would be proud of any woman who is successful, and he is not intimidated at all, because it was important for Nivea to know that whoever guy she's with, that he's a confident guy and who could stand and hold their own. So Tamar talks to Nathan, and they have a great time. And she learns that Nathan actually went to Harvard. So it's like, okay, who's gonna be safe here? Because every guy is putting up they're putting themselves up, and I feel like, oof, this is pretty good. Evelyn talks to Tony, and his situation. What actually happened, how he wants to explain what actually happened is that he got married to her because, not because he loved her, but because she was pregnant. But they co-parent great, but it didn't work at all. Like, it didn't work out at all. And I feel like Tony is not helping his situation. But, Evelyn, she hears him out and listens to him. And then we have a moment where Nathan is fighting over Evelyn with Raishan. Raishan, he had a good night. He's being confident. He's talking to all the ladies, and he wants to make his shot at Evelyn. And, Nathan does not like it. He feels like he's not even supposed to be here in the first place. So Nathan, he starts to, talk down on Raishan, on his appearance, his hair, how his suit is not tailored. And Evelyn, she reads this as a red flag. And because, like, come on, how do you flip from being such a sweet, nice guy to this? Like, you're so into this art, describing my heart, my aura, my glow, to flipping out like this? Come on, that's a no, red flag. And I'm like, you see that, Evelyn? I'm glad you see that. So, Evelyn is going to cut Raishan's hair, and she is happy that she's being more open towards him. And that was the end of this night. The guys come over to the table for elimination, and first is Raishan. Evelyn, she's happy to have met him and get to know him, and feels like he is a genuine person. And guess what? I did not see this coming. He is not leaving tonight. I'm like, okay, Evelyn, you could make this work. You could get this done. Tamar, she talks to Tony and said that the conversations tonight was just not enough. It wasn't enough to make him stay. So he is leaving tonight. He does have some regrets with some of the things he said, but I don't know. I feel like he has some work that he has to do with himself, especially how he talks to women. Especially in the dating space, he did not make any appeal for himself. That's for sure. So he's rightfully leaving. Gatsby, oh my God, he's such a sweetie pie. You could see it's just an act. Like, he's Colby, okay? So Tamar tells him that there is more to what meets the eye when it comes to Gatsby. It's just the energy is overwhelming, and he needs to be more collected. So it's interesting enough, he gets to stay. I was happy that he gets to stay. Nivea talks to Nathan, and she is impressed with what he accomplished, but he has maybe some anger issues. So Nathan is leaving tonight, and I'm so happy that Evelyn is no longer ignoring these type of signs. I'm like, good. I was shocked. I didn't think it was going to end this way. I really thought Tony was leaving and Raishan was leaving. But wow, I was so impressed. And next week, guys, we get 7 new singles. 7 new singles. So this show is going to be so lit, so fire. I hope you enjoyed this recap. And I hope to see you next week, or whenever I'm dropping the next recap of The Queen's Court. I know that all the episodes are available. I will be recapping all 10 of them. So let me know who's your faves, what are some shockers, and how you feeling about this series. Do you think this series is going to have another season? I feel like we should have a Queen's Court and the King's Court. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Perfect, perfect, perfect. And it's on Peacock, so it's readily available. You don't have to wait around, which I don't usually like to do. So if you enjoyed this recap, please like and share, and come on, subscribe. I recap other shows too as well that you may like. So I hope you guys join the gang, and take care and have a great day. And don't forget, spread as much kindness as possible. Take care, guys. Bye.